Today's show is brought to you by Even Keel Fish Shack.
Hold the Mayo. It's time for Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. Find out what's being served with Mike, Defo and Lubie, the only show that covers food, sports, and the proper maintenance of your car. And now, a man who had the distinction of having an entire health clinic named in his honor, Mike Mayo.
I want the flim sauce with the awesome fave, with shafafa on the side.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, coming to you live from my temporary studio, my own house, my bedroom. It's the only quiet room in the house, and the good news, gentlemen, is my Wi-Fi is working again back in the house.
Nice.
And bad news is my car is in the shop because after replacing the battery, I discovered that it wasn't getting enough voltage, and that there's actually a problem with the alternator, which might have gotten wet when I was riding around in the middle of the night trying to get back to my house during the storm. So $575 later, I will hopefully have a vehicle to get to beautiful Delray Beach tonight for some great events that we're having for the Best of Delray Beach app. Dick Steen and Company will be celebrating, I don't even know what we're celebrating, I guess spring and the lovely weather at Ember Grill, which is at that swanky hotel there, the Ray Hotel in Delray. Have you guys don't check anymore, but Atlantic Avenue is just hopping, and it's just in all kinds of ways with a parade of beautiful people and stylish places. So that's something to look forward to tonight. That and the 6 cocktails I'm going to be downing at some point. How's everybody else? I am back to my old grumpy ways, and I'm not making any apologies. I have reasons. That's it. Defo?
I'm doing fine. Looking forward to getting outside in some of this gorgeous weather. Haven't made it outdoors yet, but stuck my head out early this morning before we did our other show, the Defo show. Actually, before we did a little recording of Defo on 5 Reason Sports Network, and it seemed like it was the precipice and the beginning of what was going to be a beautiful day. So can't wait to get out there and share some of the sunshine. And so you're still being impacted by what was a little bit of a wet week not that long ago. Is that not covered by insurance when you drive through water like that, your automobile situation?
Well, here's the thing. There's 2 ways I could go at it for like damage. Well, yeah, like if my car was just sitting in my driveway home and the flood waters came up and I was not in the vehicle, then it would actually be part of the flood claim of the federal flood policy. But that was not the case because I was out gallivanting and gambling. No, I was stranded and I went to higher ground and first was at the Hard Rock, but then I tried to make a couple of attempts to get back to my house, and I did drive through some deep puddles, and the car kept running and it didn't get in the engine. So I didn't think it had anything to do with the waters, but bottom line is the alternator stopped. The alternator's not working, and I could put in a insurance claim and say it was from the flood. But the problem is when you have a repair that costs $575 and a deductible that's $500, you do the math, Defo. Is it worth the effort and the impending rate hike that would follow if I put in a claim for $75, which is going to be
probably not to get 75 back, but if somehow it was all covered, you'd be okay. But under the circumstances, I would probably just pay the money and leave it as it was.
It's a losing game. But you know what? Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose in the insurance racket. I've learned that plenty this year, but we'll see.
I mean, the other thing is, if some other complications arise and they're related to this flood situation, then you've already paid your deductible. So
yes, well, I will save my receipts. And as Andy says, it might be not going to be just breath on that one. But look, I'm fortunate. I'm still looking on the bright side. You know me. I am Mr. Positive, and I'm ahead of the game in a lot of ways. The restoration crews came in. They did their work in terms of cutting out walls and picking up floors and drying the place out. It's so loud in the main part of the house. That's why I would like try to set up temporary shop in my empty and pathetic office at this point with like a little folding table, like for
You can't.
TV dinners or something, and a little folding chair, and just set up. But the fans are blowing so loud that until they get those out of here, I'm going to be stuck here in the bedroom, also known as the House of Horrors to some people. But oh my God. I'm a little punch drunk at this point. I gotta be honest, but I did have a nice evening. Well, until I saw all those greasy goals get by Leon or Lion or however he pronounces his name. That's how much I follow the Panthers. But I know that
Lion.
I'm off the bandwagon. One game and I'm done. What do you think of last night's affair on the ice in Boston?
What do you think, Lubie? I mean, you were heavily
I
into
went
it.
up. I thought the Bruins would win game 1, and I think the Panthers will probably come back and win game 2. I mean, they didn't get worked. It wasn't like last year when they were playing the Lightning. It just they weren't getting shots on. I mean, they I think even by the end of the game they had more shots in all. It's just that third period they were not able to overcome the Bruins defense. I mean, it was just pretty simple. I think Lion played fine. That last goal was annoying. But to me, that's on the defense. Like, he had the puck in control. The defense is supposed to get the guys off of him so that he could gather it. Like, their defense has been an issue all year, and it was an issue last night.
Yeah, the backbreaking goal was that second goal. That was such a greasy goal. That's a glove save. It's an easy glove save for any competent NHL playoff goaltender. And that just it wasn't even a knuckleball. It wasn't that hard. It just kind of like slid off of the glove. And, once that made it 2-0, look, Tkachuk, it was a nice goal to get him back in the game, but it just they were just swimming upstream the whole game. And, look, the Bruins are, they put together the best regular season. And unlike last year's edition of the Panthers, it looks like they're going to be able to follow it up with some playoff success. But, man, we are maybe I'm rushing to judgment. I wanted to believe that this team could do some damage, but all I know is that I had a good time with neighbors yesterday. We went to Shenanigans, and
Nice.
actually just one neighbor. First, we had an impromptu post-flood cocktail party, and some beers were consumed. And all I can say is thank goodness that I am done with that silliness. I'll never be a Catholic again. I will never be giving up with alcohol.
I'm telling you, someone's not happy up there. You pissed someone off. You were on a string of great luck. You were killing it. Last 2 weeks.
So me and my neighbor Paul, we went over to Shenanigans, and I guess I pulled a Mayo in. It was not intentional, okay, but there was a wings item on the specials board there. He calling it Miami wings, and you know me, I'm at Shenanigans. I love their blackened grilled wings, the dry rub. It comes out great. But these were I don't know if it was in honor of the playoffs or just but he called it the Miami wings, and it was like in a mojo sauce with some cilantro and some other of the kind of Cuban Latin marinade spices. And again, it was a grilled wing, not a fried wing, but dunked in this sauce. And tried them. They were very good. I took a picture of them. I sent them to Pat Utter, and I said, I like the Miami wings, but I still think the Black and Grills are the #1 champion. Now, do you know what his response was?
I can imagine.
Yeah. They take care of you.
Yeah.
He said he agreed that he likes the Black and Grill the best. And the next thing I know, the night manager, Ricky's, coming over and says, by the way, Pat's going to take care of your tab tonight.
Shocking.
Usual Mayo tactic, yeah.
Do you think did I go
request
in?
for a freebie? Oh, by the way, I'm at your place, and could you count my check? Why don't you just come out and say, hey, can you count my check?
I didn't, because, all right, maybe it was my ulterior motive subconsciously. Maybe that's
maybe.
How I'm playing
It wasn't subconscious at all there, Superstar. It was very conscious.
You know the move. You constantly are getting in touch with the owner, whether they're there or not. I mean, when the guy's not even there and you're giving him a comment like that, there's only one reason to do that, Mike Mayo.
He knows what I'm going through with the floods. He was commiserating with me, and yeah, it was pretty shameless. And I said, look, Pat, I said, that was very nice of you. You didn't have to do that. I was actually going to make my neighbor pay because his house didn't get dinged. It just got in his garage a little bit. Yeah, my neighbor across the street, the way they're tilted, and his house is a little bit higher up. It didn't. All it did was get in his garage, and he had already moved everything up to higher shelves because of past events. So I was going to make Paul, pick up the tab, but no. Instead, Pat Utter, a great human being, and but thank you for that. And
Now were people in there riveted to the game, or was it a big fan draw to have this hockey game on?
I would say there were people in there, but as far as it being a big crowd or anybody walking up in their Panthers jerseys, not a big hockey crowd. It just seemed to be a bunch of folks who were paying attention to the game. But I think the Heat may be a bigger draw, especially after winning the first game against Milwaukee. So that's it. But anyway, that was last night, and. You got to give me credit, Defo. I mean, for a guy who used to have impeccable ethics and standards as a newspaper guy, couldn't accept any freebies. I've become quite the schnorrer. So that's
always been the motto of anybody in electronic media. If it's free, it's me.
Yes.
I was actually going to put a book out once about living a year for free. See if I could get comped accommodations, meals, clothes. Because at a time where it was very popular for advertisers and sponsors to trade off goods and services as part of the fee for advertising, that was always a good thing to take advantage of. And I think it would have been possible. I mean, I might have had to stretch it a little bit, but I possibly could have lived for free for a year if I put my mind to it back in the day.
It's a real talent.
I don't know that it's doable now, because the accommodations would be the rough one. Although if I stayed at various casinos, then it might happen.
Yeah, but when you stay at various casinos, is it really free in the long run?
I mean, the room is free. I mean, unfortunately, the machines aren't necessarily favorable to or conducive to having a free trip. But every now and then,
it's like when I
go to score.
I go to Gulfstream and I get that free hat that only ended up costing me $220.
The $300 hot dog was always a classic. Yeah, hey, I just went to the track with my buddies for lunch. Right, $250 later, you had a hot dog and a beer, and that was it.
Exactly.
It's almost like going to a ball game, actually. At that point,
yeah.
At least you get to gamble with your money, besides just getting robbed.
He says, at least you have a chance of making it back.
Hey, speaking of gambling, you know me that obviously I'm a proponent and supporter of horse racing, and it's because, unlike when you go to a Panther game or a Marlins game and have to shell out all this money for parking and beer and hot dogs that cost $12 or God knows what, that when you go to the track, or even when you don't go to the track, you could end up with more money than what you started with. But especially when you're making a day at the races, and like you did, I guess, for your last visit, that's one of the reasons I love horse racing. The other reason I was thinking about is just in this climate now of people talking about who can compete against who, and men and women, and now you have this new category with this whole debate about trans, and I was thinking that horse racing is beautiful because there is really no delineation between men and women competing against each other. It's a totally even playing field, whether you're a jockey or even a top flight thoroughbred. Fillies are allowed to run against the boys, and sometimes they beat them in the big classic races. Women jockeys like Julie Krohn compete against the men and sometimes win the big races. And I just love that about, when I was thinking about ways to justify my gambling addiction, and, the fact that horse racing, you can argue, is really the most progressive of all sports when it comes to gender equity. And I think that for that reason alone, Jim Sarney should be out at the races every day waving his pompoms.
I don't know if he's inclined to wager on the ponies, though. I think he has some natural degenerate instincts, our friend Jim Sarney, because he's made a couple of good calls in the short period of time that we've been communicating about this sort of degenerate activity. He had Argentina to win the World Cup. And I believe he also, had the winner of the Masters tournament with John Rahm. So, he may be missing out by not wagering. Although you can go to arenas now and wager in some places, Mike Mayo. Where
my point isn't about the
in-house,
wagering.
In-house betting right there for betting on the sporting event.
Yeah, true. you can return money than you started with, but not in Florida. There's no sports betting yet. And especially if you went to the Panthers arena and wagered on the Panthers, the chances are between slim and none that you would return home with any money, especially against
No,
the
whatever you have in your
Baltimore Saints.
pocket. A lot of places, though, they're going cashless, like these kind of places, which is really kind of a strange thing. No, I understand the reason for it. Makes life simpler for whoever is running the show, but it is a little weird, right? I mean, if you don't
Are you
have
trying to
credit
trigger
cards that you're
me?
going to rack up hundreds of dollars.
Defo, are you trying to trigger me? Because you saw
No,
this
no, I'm
post.
just saying. I
No,
mean, all of these things about cashless. I mean, are there restaurants
no,
doing the same
but
thing?
it became a subject, on Let's Eat South Florida because there was a place. Well, somebody posted a picture of an establishment that is still old school and said cash is king, and they prefer
Cash
cash. And
only, you would think, would be
there are
the way to
still a
go.
very
Sure.
few number of places that are cash only. Well, among them, one of my favorite restaurants, one of the best restaurants, Oceano. Uh, the Oceano Kitchen, not to be confused with Ocean One, but it's run by that James Beard Award nominated couple up in Lantana, cash only establishment. Le Tub for a long time was cash only, but they've changed their ways. But there's the opposite of places, like you said, that have gone cashless. And you know what chief among them is?
Let me
Uh,
guess. Houston's.
yes.
No, really? You don't take cash at
Yeah.
Houston's?
Houston's has a little sign up front next to the
Wow.
hostess who's dripping with arrogance and uh, attitude. And when they're denying you a table because they're fully committed, there's also a little thing up there that says, we are a cashless business, which technically, because if you look on your money, which I have dwindling supplies, and now yesterday I had $100 bill. And by the way, I mentioned the 100 I left behind. Not even a thank you. So
You did leave the
okay,
100. You did leave her
I did.
$100.
I left a crisp $100 Benji right on her kitchen table, and unless my daughter swiped it and she never saw it, I was
Which is
expecting a little
feasible,
like
100%
just a,
feasible.
just a thank you. Not only was I early with the child support this week, which I try to do, I also left the $100 bill. But I'm not. Yeah, that's leave that alone. I'm still gratitude. I have gratitude. There's a couch for me to sleep on. But anyway, these dollars on them, it says. Do they still say it? Yeah, this note is legal all debts, public and private, which means if you have cash money and a business doesn't want to accept it, you can walk right out the door and they can call the police and you say, I attempted to pay with this note that says it's legal for all debts, public and private. And it would be interesting to see what happened. Somebody did make that they went to Houston's, and here we are again. I'm talking about my favorite place, that they went to the one in Pompano. They pulled out a $50 bill to pay their share of their lunch tab, and the waiter gave them this look like, we don't accept cash here. And the guy said, what do you mean? And he goes, we're a cashless thing. He goes, well, I don't happen to have a credit card on me. I have cash. And like it turned into dripping with attitude and arrogance, and just basically explained the policy, but begrudgingly was able to find I guess a little bit of change, which is surprising to me. I would think that a lunch for one at Houston's with the tax and tip and everything would run at least 50 per person. But be that as it may, the guy was able to get some change back, whether it's a $5 bill. But one more thing, it's just, yeah, I mean, I understand places that want to go cashless. It's most people don't carry cash anymore, but there are still some segments of society that specifically poor people that can't get credit cards or don't even have checking or bank accounts. So cash, I think, should always be taken. So how did we get here?
I have no idea.
You were complaining about something.
Houston's. That's it. I was complaining about Houston's. Anybody want to talk about any food finds? Did anybody have something good to eat in the last day? Or
I had that name of that place that made the paella I was talking about yesterday, and
yeah,
I was a little surprised actually at the pricing. I'm not sure if I caught this right because I would say if you get a reasonably sized tray of something like paella or lasagna or something like that, what are you thinking? Like feeds 8 to 10 somewhere in there? I would
yeah.
say this tray that we had that Mustang brought home probably what was at least a portion for you would have to say 8 people, and they were charging like $30 a head for the seafood paella. But the place was called La Paella Chef, and apparently is fairly well known on East Atlantic Boulevard for catering parties. But doesn't that seem a little steep, though? I mean, if you bought a tray of paella and it was enough to serve 10 people, maybe not a massive portion, but a reasonable portion, would you think $300 for that tray was a lot of money, Mike Mayo? What do you think?
You see, asking me about topics I wouldn't know about, because what I would do is I would just send pictures of my flood damaged home to Joey, and then I would show up
Yeah.
asking for a tray of paella and hopefully Cafe Seville and
No, but
300
it
seems
sounded
a
a
little
lot. I mean,
pricey.
to charge by the individual portion on a catering thing seems a little
I would think,
high priced, does it
I
not?
would think you would get, and we could consult our great catering chef friend,
I mean,
Tom
maybe that was
T.
if you just ordered for one,
He's
but
there.
it seemed to have a qualifier that they,
Tom
we're talking about parties at 25 or more.
Tom T is on the, he's on the string here.
Chef.
And, look, he's done some parties, and, some people just give a price per person. If you got 20 people, you're going to charge 30 per head and
That
you do
makes sense, yeah.
$600. And he'll show up with a whole bunch of stuff, some oysters and some red beans and rice and an array of things for, $30 per person menu. Now, when it comes to like, if he's going to make a big tray of jambalaya, you set the price. So I would see, whether it's paella or jambalaya or rice-based dish, even if you're using the finest in the arborio granular rice and the fancy stuff, and using some good high-end product like some nice shrimp and Key West pink shrimp or Gulf shrimp and some good andouille sausage. I would think like a platter for 10, you should be able to get away with something for the $150 to $200 range for paella or a jambalaya. But that's just me. But again,
Maybe I got it wrong. I mean, maybe I didn't understand the way they were listing the prices, but I can't imagine if you went to a restaurant and paella was 29 per portion, you would say, okay, that's all right. But if you were buying a massive amount of it for catered affair,
yeah,
you would figure it'd be maybe half that at best. Like
right.
you're saying.
Again, I think it's all about the clear communication, having a sheet maybe that says we do a pan of baked ziti that's $120. It'll feed 20, and if you want the meatballs and sausage, that's another 100. Just a catering price sheet is usually helpful. But you're right. I find that a little steep for paella, which is mainly a rice-based dish. But again, it's the saffron is a key ingredient in paella, and saffron is very expensive. So that's could be one of the components. And, that's one thing that people also have to understand, depending on certain can drive we might find to be unreasonable, but necessary for the business to maintain the proper profit margin, stay in business. So it's all an equation, and it's all capitalism. You can either agree to pay it and accept their price or not. So that's it's Economics 101 with Professor Mayo today.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like Ron DeSantis here,
Right.
talking to the Disney people.
Did I mention that?
Take
I
it
went
or
to
leave
the,
it, yeah.
Well, that's the land of the free. Tell that to any woman who finds herself in an unfortunate position after 6 weeks. But don't take me down here. I'm not going down that path today. You know what I want to talk about right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I want to talk about Tropical Acres. I did not make it there last night. I did talk to a friend who had some flood damage. Who is I didn't know him up until a couple of weeks ago when we met at a school's career day, and it turned out we were both in the same classroom. He is like one of these was it kinesia? He works with athletes and optimum performance and literature, and he pinpoints things. He works with Southeastern. He had major house damage. It turns out we lived like 4 houses apart, and we didn't really know each other. But we were talking at this event, and he loves Tropical Acres. He goes there all the time, and he took major damage in the flood. He lost a Porsche that he had parked.
Oh
Wow.
no.
And that is, he said it was totaled because the water came up and over into the
Oh,
the engine and the exhaust, all that stuff. And he has so many electronics in that thing. He's a little bit dismayed, and he was going to go lick his wounds tonight. His mother is in town. He invited me to go over there with him to Tropical Acres. Unfortunately, I got this other event up in Delray Beach, but my neighbor will be enjoying the beautiful, just the great value over at the bar during happy hour. Tonight is also Tuesday, so it's half price wine night, and I think he'll be drowning his sorrows a little bit with some great wine at half price. And that's what you get at Tropical Acres when life's got you down, or either way, you go there and you're going to walk out happy. And that's the mark of a great restaurant. The Studiali family, they've been doing it a long time, in business 73 years, since 1949. And I saw somebody posted something very nice on the Let's Eat South Florida Facebook group today. They got their filet mignon, that big barrel cut 10-ouncer. And he used his loyalty card, which is always a great thing. So that filet mignon, I think it goes for like $37. He got $35 off, because when you get those 12 punch card entries for 12 entrees purchase, you get the 13th one on the house. So that's a good little payoff there. That's the kind of stuff you get at Tropical Acres. Not too soon to make your Mother's Day reservations. They'll be open that Sunday from 1 to 8 p.m. Call 954-989-2500. 954-989-2500. You know where they are. Griffin Road, just west of I-95. And they will take great care of you. They're open Saturday. No, when are they open? From Monday through Saturday, usually closed on Sundays. They also have a butcher shop if you want to get in there and pick up some stuff to go. That's open from 10 a.m. on. Bar opens at 4:30 for the half price happy hour till 6:30. And of course, room opened. Tropical Acres, and tell them the Lunchbox sent you.
All right, more to come. Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. So we continue on a little food tour in a moment.
Hey, it's Mayo here for Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market. Since 1951, family owned, for over 70 years, the home of freshness. I've been a customer for over 3 decades, and it's the place to go for poultry, steaks, meats, and of course, their unbelievable selection of fish and seafood. They've got it all. Key West pink shrimp, grouper, snapper, lobster, and of course, Florida stone crab claws of all sizes. Don't forget their famous fish dip and a full selection of prepared foods. It's located at 4191 North State Road 7 in Hollywood, just across the Seminole Classic Casino. Owner Doug Carter and crew will take great care of you. Make sure to check out their weekly specials and daily catch online at DelawareChicken.com. Quality, value, freshness, that's the Delaware way. Tell them Mike Mayo and the Lunchbox sent you. Do you like pizza? Who doesn't like pizza? Well, my spot for pizza is the Pizza Spot. It's in that little bit hard to find Riverside Park neighborhood of Fort Lauderdale, but it's totally easy to love. It's at 601 Southwest 12th Avenue, New Haven style, a pizza from Wade and Reese. It's a lovely outdoor spot. You could also pick up pies to go at 754-779-7788, 754-779-7788. Again, they're open every day but Monday for lunch and dinner. Some of the best pizza I've ever had. Go to Pizza Spot. They also have subs, salads, and more. Tell them the Gambling Gourmet sent you. If you like seafood in a comfortable setting, outdoors, Even Keel Fish Shack at the corner of A1A and Commercial Boulevard in Lauderdale by the Sea, that's my spot. It's upscale food in a down-home setting. The chef owners, Dave and Brad, do a terrific job with all the seafood classics that you want. They have the best grilled oysters in town, bang bang shrimp, lobster rolls, and deli fish specials. They also have weekend brunch Saturday and Sunday. They have deli happy hour 4 to 7, and they also have other weekly specials like mussels on Monday and oysters on Tuesday. Go to Even Keel Fish Shack and tell them that the Lunchbox sent you.
We're back on the Lunchbox. It is a Tuesday, glorious day. I woke up. There was no humidity. It was 67 degrees, brisk. Love it like this. I wish it could be like this every day, but alas, it will be hurricane season. That will bring this year. One day at a time. That's what I'm saying. And on the Lunchbox today, we've been just kind of talking a little bit of hockey, talking a little bit about expensive paellas. And the next on the list was a post on Let's Eat South Florida that kind of hit the transom. And it was about not a gruntled person, but a disgruntled person who went for a pizza at one of the places I really like up in Delray Beach. It's called Death by Pizza. It features thick Detroit-style pizza, which I happen to like because it reminds me of, it's basically Sicilian pizza. Thick, square. People who go to Jet's Pizza, which is a chain out of Detroit, Michigan, they know the style. But
I thought Detroit was a sauce on top because I just went to Jet's. They don't do that thing. So Jet's gave me was literally a Sicilian.
Yeah, Jets has again the cheese bubbles over those pans and gets nice and caramelized, and yeah, the Jets doesn't do the sauce on the top thing, which some people make that
What
as
makes
a
Detroit?
delineating. Well, again, it's just because they bake them in these steel
Oh,
pans that
man.
started it started in this one bar in the suburbs of Detroit and I guess an auto workers used to hang out there, and one of the guys who was on the bar owner started making his mom's Sicilian pizza recipe, and he didn't have any kind of baking pan, and he used what they call this blue steel pan, which is what they used on the assembly lines at the Ford and all those other auto manufacturers up there. But these blue steel pans turned out to be, besides holding all your wrenches and things that workers would use on the assembly line, also turned out to be like the perfect height for baking these pizzas. And it's why there's now a Detroit style pizza parlor in a restaurant in Fort Lauderdale called Blue Pizza, because it's the blue steel pans. Yes, a lot of the style that makes it Detroit pizza, that people say the sauce ladled out on top while it's baking. So the cheese, there's like a layer of sauce and then cheese or whatever toppings, and then a little more ladle splash of sauce up top. That's the Detroit pizza. Death by Pizza, which is run by this nice brother and sister combination up in Delray. They make pies that are very, very good. So good that we've put them in the best of the best category, which is kind of like our top 10, top 15 in the Best of Delray app. I really like the stuff. So does Dickstein. It's crunchy and just perfectly cooked, and they use good ingredients. Anyway, they offer several varieties, but they have a basic mozzarella and sauce, and they also do pepperoni. They have pepperoni with vodka sauce. They call that the vodka.
Oh, nice.
All these beautiful pies, but they have calibrated it and done these recipes, so they know what ingredients they're using. They know what temperature and how long they bake each pie in the oven. Guy goes in there and wants to get a half plain, half pepperoni pie, but there, right on the menu, it says no alterations or substitutions.
Oh, really?
So basically, the place refused to make a half pizza, half plain. Everybody, a lot of people go around to your basic neighborhood Italian, New York style, thin style joint, and you get a half pepperoni, half plain, no problem. Yes. Here they wouldn't do it, and it caused the usual. I'm cursing this week. I'm sorry. It caused a shitstorm on Elliot. Just people were going crazy, like, how dare they not make your half pepperoni, half cheese? And I was like, look, it's pretty simple. This place, some places I lampoon the chefs who say, oh, it would ruin the integrity of the dish. That's what they do at Houston's if you ask for a baked potato before 5 o'clock. But this place, I happen to understand where they're coming from, because if you put pepperoni on half and plain cheese on the other, it's going to have uneven cooking. And just order one whole pie of each, damn it, because they come out great. That's what Dickstein and I did last time. We ordered a whole vodka-roni, delicious, a whole plain mozzarella, delicious, and everything came out wonderful. Yeah, you got to spend an extra $28, but so be it. You got leftover pizza for a week in the fridge. There are worse things in life, let me tell you. So, and everybody was just going crazy. How dare they refuse to do it? And I was like, it says it right on the menu. I understand where they're coming from, and if you don't like what their policies, then just don't go there. So. Do any of you have any strong opinions on this?
Well, since it's a specialty type of pie made in a different way, if they say that this doesn't work out well, they would rather serve you nothing than serve you something that was less than 100% of what their product is normally. So I don't blame them. I mean, as long as they stated this policy up front, and it says it very clearly. It's not like one of these hidden charges or whatever.
Yeah.
They have very plainly stated that there's no substitution, and they're not going to be able to do this sort of thing. So that going in. So I think you have to accept it. I don't know that it's like a soup Nazi type of thing, but seems reasonable to me that they're trying to protect the integrity of their product more so than keep you from getting half pepperoni on your pizza.
Right.
Like I'm all about appeasing to our customers and clients. Most of the places we deal with are just like that, and I appreciate that. But like, when you go to a place like the Catherine, when you go to somewhere that's different and they're trying to do something different, I also change my expectations. So that's my thing. Like, this isn't Papa John's. Like, And I'm not slamming Papa John's. I'm not slamming any pizza place. They all have their purpose. I just went to Jet's Pizza, which is a chain, and it was very good. But you should, again, like we've talked about, depending on where you're going, is what your expectations probably should be. Again, you can be any kind of customer you want to be, but then you're just going to piss off yourself. That restaurant, from what you've described, is fine losing this one client. So if they're like that, like Martirano's, they're very specific. And again, they seem to be pretty packed in Martirano's. So like it is, you can bitch and moan like Mayo does every time he brings up Houston's, even though he never goes back to Houston's, but then he goes to Houston's. But then
I went back. They wouldn't seat me, but go ahead.
But like, that's on you. Like if a place is different, if you have vodka sauce on a pizza, doesn't that tell you they're a little different? It's different. So to me, I'm looking toward and forward to that different experience. But again, everyone on that group seems to be, some are accepting and some are not accepting.
Look, I go with the flow, and like it depends on, like you said, the circumstances, the chef. If it's kind of a more artisanal place, it's not a chain, it's not a mass-produced thing. If they clearly state it, then you go with it, and then you have a choice. You try it, and you say, "Oh, I understand now why he has this policy because it's freaking good. It comes out right, and they execute perfectly." But like if you have a place that has
cheese pie, do they have a pie that doesn't? Because maybe they can't eat pepperoni. The wife or do they have a pie?
They have a plain cheese pie, and I guess the alternative that this guy did was he got the full pepperoni, peeled off the pepperoni. So it wasn't for like vegetarian or religious reasons that he couldn't touch the pepperoni. It was just he wanted a plain cheese half, and you got to pay for the full pepperoni, and then just peel off your pepperonis. That's one way to solve it. The other way is just get a plain cheese pie and then go home, slice up some pepperoni, and throw it in the oven for another few minutes, and it's going to come out to perfection the way that the restaurant. But if you want to desecrate it and do whatever you want on your own, and like Mike Royko said about hot dogs, if you want to put chocolate syrup and toenail clippings and cat hair on it, it's a free country. God bless you. You do what you want with your product when you get home. But when you're dealing with a chef who has, I don't want to say vision, but yeah, it's like they tested it. They know what's good and what's not, and what works and what doesn't. So I go with the flow. And, it's not always Burger King. You don't always get things your way. And the customer is not always right, and the customer doesn't always get what he wants. But again, you have a choice that when they clearly delineate this, you don't have to go there. There are other places where you could get your crappy, round, thin, half pepperoni, half cheese, and you don't have to enjoy the delicious pizza, the crispy, thick, airy, puffy dough that has that great crunch and pillowy center at Death by Pizza. I like them. Do you get the sense that I like the place and I understand where they're coming from? So that guy, and that's the funny part. It ended up arguing against himself later in the thread. He was like, how could they not do this and blah, blah, blah. But I really like the place. And then later on, he was like, oh, well, the reason why they do this is because it would not come out the same. It might not be optimal.
It's like bitching.
Just answered your own question. But who am I to complain about that? 102,000.
Well, what did the majority decide? I mean, what was the general gist of the thread?
There were a lot of yentas who, not yentas, just people who are outraged that they were siding with the customer, and they thought it was not that it was not reasonable for the place not to do only high, and that some of them who'd never been there, of course, proclaimed they would never set foot in the joint just based on that.
Wow.
To which I said, you're doing yourself a disservice, because if you like the different style pizza, the place is fantastic. And
what's funny about that? I mean, it would take nothing for the guy to throw like half a pie with pepperoni, except that he's trying to protect the integrity of his product. I guess that would be the reason to say no to that. So if he had said, "Hey, listen, I can throw half a pie worth of pepperoni on there, but it's going to come out crappy," and the guy said, "Okay, we'll do it anyway," then now you might have a customer complaining that he really didn't like the pizza there.
Right.
So
it's like the pizza spot situation. They're very clear about they'd rather you eat there.
Yeah.
They'd rather, because they know it messes with the food. Now you're a grown adult, so good for them. They let you do it. But then someone goes home an hour later when there's no way a pizza is going to be good an hour later. And if you expect it to, something's wrong with you. And then people bitch on, let's say, South Florida, because the pizza wasn't perfect, even though, of course, it's an hour and a half later.
It's soggy. If you get the whole vegetable pie and you don't eat it for an hour and it sits in the car, it's going to get soggy. If you eat it right there, you're going to get it when it's right out of the oven and crisp and, it's at its peak condition. But by the way, speaking of Pizza Spot and Wade, I did finally touch base with him. He said they had quite an adventure getting home on Wednesday, but the Pizza Spot itself did okay during the flood. Not any water damage there, and also his home and plantation did okay. So good to hear that. And I got to get in there soon because I am dying for one of those great. He got the New Haven thin style, and I've become obsessed. The way I used to be obsessed, Defo, with the what I call
you like that cherry bomb thing. That was a little too hot.
Bomb. I used to call it in the hot cherry peppers, but
yeah,
I'm getting a little bit older. I'm getting a little bit maybe more. I guess I'm trying to treat my my body. My body is a temple. Trying to treat myself.
It looks that way. Yeah, no, it does.
It actually looks like.
I still have. I mean, I actually had a semi nightmare last night because I was watching the Boston Marathon yesterday on TV. And then I keep envisioning you running in one of these marathon events. And I'm like, I know there was a young Mayo. Bonnie just, put a lovely picture on display of a young Mayo about 7 years ago. And, not that you've changed that much, but, it's still hard to envision the current Mayo, running even the 13.2 of a half marathon.
I wouldn't. A 13.1 half marathon these days. I wouldn't run it so much as I would waddle it. Just kind of maybe.
Yeah, I mean, at what point do you realize that this is not a good idea? That would be the question.
Well, my doctor,
right away, the first couple of steps. Yeah.
My doctor told me to start with a mile and then go to 2 and then, try to slowly increase. But yeah, it is shocking. And, I've ballooned my weight up and down my whole life and I'm not subconscious. I mean, look, I'm honest. I know some people say, oh, you shouldn't say anything about body type and body shaming. I'm honest. I look in the mirror. I've ballooned up. And I remember I used to do this, younger. I would also kind of be on a yo-yo a little bit. And I remember one time when I was on the golf beat, and one of the golfers out on the tour, who I was friendly with, but
Freddie
he hadn't
Couples,
seen.
by chance?
No, it wasn't Freddie Couples, and it wasn't Mike
some
Donald.
snide comment about your weight.
I forget who it was. Paul Goidos. You remember Paul Goidos?
Yeah, no, I know Paul Goidos.
He's a nice guy. But I think one time I arranged, and it was after I guess I hadn't seen him since the previous season, and I might have put on 15 or 20 pounds. And he goes, "What'd you do? Stick an air hose up your butt?" That's when I know it's time to start hitting the salad bar a little bit. But
when somebody says to you, "What have you been doing besides eating?" Then, well, I mean, in your case, though, that might be appropriate to whether you were gaining weight or not.
But and now the thing I notice, I got this nice rotund belly. Everybody just seems to instinctively go pat my belly like I'm Santa Claus or something now. So I guess the hint is there. I got to do what I got to do, but I got to give
them the Raging Bull thing, right? When they were making fun, the Mobs guys were making fun of De Niro, and they said, "Hey, Jake, it looks like you put on a few pounds playing Jake LaMotta," and he said, "I'll take it right off."
Right.
That should take it right off. Don't worry about it.
A little more something and a little less eating. Yeah, that's the other line. Getting back to Pizza Spot. No, my newfound treasure there is like the classic old school New Haven pie where they don't even put mozzarella cheese on it. It's just basically tomato sauce and he makes his tomato sauce. That's the star of the show there. Besides his dough, which is thin and crispy, and he gets it nice and it's charred, but he puts this beautiful, flavorful sauce that he has spiced just right, some oregano, garlic, some hot pepper flakes, and then instead of mozzarella cheese, it's sprinkled with a little grated Parmesan Reggiano cheese, but it's just like a very light pie. I find myself getting the small ones, and they come out so crisp. And that guy who does the pizza reviews, Portnoy, gets obsessed about flop, and he found a little floppy pie when he went to Pizza Spot. This one, if you get one of his tomato pies and you ask for it well done, there is no flop. It's just a complete stiff piece of beautiful pizza that's just, again, not heavy. And I get one of these smalls and somehow I end up eating the whole thing. It's like a beautiful, tasty dinner. But
are they designed for one person, or does it say on the box feeds family of 4?
I think the small, reasonable would be 2 people splitting a small. I'm eating for 2 these.
But I mean, in Italy, pizzas are meant for one person. They would, I think, be about the same size.
Classic.
Louis Bossi actually had something that approximated the pizzas that you saw in Italy, and it looked like an individual serving.
You can eat them by yourself. You can split them and have another appetizer. Those are the classic Neapolitan style. I love those too. I love all styles of pizza, and that's why anytime
Pizza
there's a
spot, vegetarian or vegetable pizza, not vegetarian, but the vegetable pizza there is outstanding. It's the best I've had of
yeah,
that
you
type
love
of
it.
stuff. Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
really do like that
I
vegetable
find
pizza.
that a little too busy for me. I just think too many things complicate. And it's like, you know me, I'm
But as
consistent.
vegetable pizzas go, if you're going to order a
Yeah,
vegetable pizza, some places only have a couple of things and they're standard or whatever, and they don't seem as fresh. I mean, this guy really knows how to do it.
he puts on, I think, some. Does he put artichokes on there as well in his vegetable
That I
pie?
don't remember, but
But
I
he's
do
got
remember it
beautiful.
being delicious. Even days later, which was an open defiance and contrast to that guy that had a slice in the car on the way home on
Forget
Sunrise
about it.
Boulevard there, and he
Ooh,
was already upset that it didn't taste as fresh
he
as it
doesn't.
should have.
He doesn't. He doesn't matter. But and of course the other New Haven place that's getting buzz, and not Frank Pepe's, which is, that's the funny
You don't
part.
hear much
Pepe's.
about that place for
Yeah, I'm
as
hearing.
spectacular as the opening was.
The
We
prices
went
are
there.
high, and they don't have any choices. And I felt bad because people from that area love it.
Yeah.
And it's good for them. And the food is good. I enjoyed the experience. The service was great. The management was great. I don't know any place that does. It's like going to Chick-fil-A and people expect that just pizza. And it's like most people want a chicken parm sub, or they want
They have a salad and they have
meatball, or
pizza. They don't have wings. They don't have hero
wings.
subs.
People want other stuff.
So it's a limited menu. And again, they're maintaining their brand integrity, but they're charging more for their pizza here in Plantation than at the original flagship store in New Haven. That seems a little upside down. But again, it speaks to the high rents and other costs of doing business in Florida between insurance and this and that. But they've encountered some turbulence, and they're building one in Delray Beach. That's Haven style place, which has been on my radar, and I mean, I've been there several times, and I like it a lot. It's called Abitz, and Port and I went in there and gave a rave review, but it was under kind of manufactured conditions because the place was closed that he opened specifically for him and made him a pie specifically for him, kind of like what Pepe's did for us when we were in there, and when the Pepe's pies that we had were outstanding.
They're great. Yeah, they're
And I'm
great.
hearing much more things about Pepe public now, going in there and paying the full freight. So, is it fair? I mean, look, good for Albeats. They have a good product. I've been in there a bunch of times and it's mostly great. I've had a little bit of inconsistency there, but it's overall a worthy product and true to New Haven style. So, they wanted us to get up there and do a show there. I'd be happy to at some point during the summer when things calm down a bit. They've been really, I mean, talk about the guy, the guy's got $4 million followers, and everybody in the world came out there, and it's a small spot. It doesn't really have any tables indoors. They have like 3-4 tables outside at Abitz there in Delray Beach. But I'd like to get up there because they do something that Wade still hasn't put on the menu, which is the white clam pie.
Oh, that
And
sounds good. Yeah.
have you ever had that?
Oh, we had it at
Defo,
Pepe's.
Pepe's had it, right?
Yeah.
That was
that
nice.
shows you where my head is at. Yeah, I like that pie. I like the different, a little bit of the white grated, again, the Parmesan cheese, but not heavy cheese, more of the clam and a little bit of the parsley and the garlic and a little lemon on there too. So, me, look at me. Is there a pizza that I don't like? I love them all.
You haven't been diving into pizzas so much lately. Most of your stuff has been sort of high-end foo-foo type of food that you've been
That's what
consuming.
you see. You only
Yeah.
see what I reveal. Believe me, I've been diving into.
Oh, yeah?
Now,
Okay.
I had a couple from Concadoro, which is my local that has New York style pizza that's really good. Antonio's is another favorite of mine, and the Griffin Road corridor there near Tropical Acres. So yeah, I've been getting my doughy, cheesy stuff into the mix.
Our friend Eric wants to know, have you been to Crust in Miami?
Have not. I've heard so many things about it. Again, it's one of those food places, no adjustments. And there they have $12 slices, and that's a little bit more than
$12 slices?
Yeah, it's a
I
little
think
bit
it's a
more than I
slice.
could
Like
chew.
the old school, like Sbarro. Like how big is a slice for 12?
They're
Slice better be the size of half a pie. Come on.
Lobster, but like
What are you
tons of
talking about?
lobster. Like what's
they're
on
like
it?
a normal size slice from a 18-inch pie, but they dress it up in a way. Look, I can't talk. All I know is like some of my food writing friends and bloggers, they go in there. Do you want to go in there and spend a ton of money and say, "Oh, this sucks"? So like maybe they convince themselves that it's worth the money. But I hear nothing but positive things about the crust, the dough, the ingredients they're using. I don't like some of their fruit combinations. I'm more of a purist, but I guess at some point I'll get down there. The other place I have to get down there is the the Joe's, which is a famous New York slice joint that started off in Greenwich Village, and now they've got stores all over Manhattan, and now they've branched out to Wynwood. But apparently, the Joe's that opened down here is doing a good replica of the New York slices that they become famous for. So Joe's and Crust are two places on my list if I ever go south anymore. But lately I've been heading north. And speaking about heading places, we're going to be heading somewhere next week, at Delaware Chicken Farm and Food Market. And I'm looking forward to that on Thursday, April 27th. We're going to be out there for our monthly visit. And we're going to be talking to, I guess Jose is going to come out, and we're going to talk a little bit about upcoming grill season, barbecue season, and not just fish and that you could throw on the grill, but things like the burgers and steaks. They got a great steak program there from a purveyor from the Midwest that has this Black Angus beef and some great cuts. And every time I walk in there, before I go over to the seafood counter and look at stone crab and shrimp and clams, I can't help but looking at all those beautiful cut ribeyes and sirloin strip steaks. And have burger meat and ground in ready for burger consumption. Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market is open 7 days. They're at 4191 North State Road 7 in Hollywood, just south of Sterling. They're also right there next to or across the street from the classic Seminole Bingo Casino. So again, go in there. We'll be there next Thursday. You can go on their website, DelawareChicken.com, for all their weekly specials and latest offerings, and they'll take great care. They are all about the quality, value, and selection. Go to Delaware and tell them the Lunchbox sent you.
Always make you feel welcome there. It's really amazing, and you can tell. Just you can sense that there's a loyal clientele coming in there, and any new people that go there, have to be just absolutely thrilled with what they see, because the displays are beautiful at Delaware Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market. Great place. Come back and wrap up this edition of Mike Mayo's Lunchbox in a moment.
Looking for a great place for steaks, seafood, and more? Go to Tropical Acres Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. It's at 2500 Griffin Road in Dania, just west of I-95 and the airport. They've been there a long time, since 1949. That means they're doing something right. You'll get old school hospitality from the Studiali family, along with great value, for tremendous service. Of course, you could also go into the bar for happy hour every day, 4 to 6. The early bird special runs from 4:30 to 5:30, and they have great value all night long. Also, a butcher shop that's open every day from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. except Sunday. The dining room is open every day at 4:30 except Sunday. Go to Tropical Acres. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you. Hey, it's Mike Mayo. When the Brooklyn boy in me wants a good bagel with Nova or some matzo ball soup, homemade knishes, or a great deli pastrami sandwich on rye, you know where I go? Grandpa's Cafe in Dania Beach. It's been around a long time, an institution, but a little over a year ago, a pair of New Yorkers came in, bought it, and refurbished the place. It's beautiful, and they are now serving great breakfast, brunch, lunch. They've got the omelets. They've got eggs Benedict. They've got all kinds of great baked goods like rugelach. Grandpa's is just off Federal Highway on Southwest 1st Street in Dania Beach. It's open 7 days. Go in there, tell them that the Lunchbox sent you. When I'm looking for some wicked good food for a wicked good lunch, there's only one place to go. That's Wicked Cheesesteaks in Fort Lauderdale. It's at 4824 North Federal Highway, just south of Commercial Boulevard and across from Holy Cross Hospital. My friend Brian there, he will hook you up with some really tasty treats. They've got cheesesteaks, just like the best you can find in Philly, along with lobster rolls, because that's where he's from, Maine originally, and they have wings and pizza and everything you want to have a really good time. Wicked Cheesesteaks, they're open every day but Tuesday. Go in there on a Wednesday. They got buy one, get one on cheesesteaks from 5 to 8 p.m. Check them out online, wickedcheesesteaks.com. Tell them the Lunchbox sent you. People come to me and say, Mike, where should I go out to eat? I got guests coming from out of town. Where should we go? Cafe Seville. That's the answer. 2768 East Oakland Park Boulevard. It's a Fort Lauderdale perennial. serving the finest in Spanish and continental cuisine in a cozy, friendly, comfortable setting. Joey Esposito and Sally, his better half, they've been running the place for a long time. It's been open since the 1980s. They got great Spanish classics like paella, shrimp with garlic sauce, and all kinds of great seafood dishes. The stuffed veal chop, oh, that's my favorite. Go to Cafe Seville. It's open every day but Sunday at 5 p.m. for dinner. Tell them that the Lunchbox Mayo and Defo sent you. Do you like burgers? Do you like wings? Do you like late night food and sports on big screen TVs and cold beer and friendly vibe and great people? Then you want to check out Shenanigans, 1300 South Federal Highway in Dania Beach. You go to Shenanigans, you get yourself all the good stuff, the fresh fish every day, the blackened grilled wings, and of course, the kitchens are open late. Go there, tell them that the Lunchbox Mayo and Defo sent.
Back on the Lunchbox, coming to you from the auxiliary studio at home today. Hopefully, well, who knows how long I'll be. I mean, I've got the Wi-Fi working again at the house, so that's progress. And now we've got to work on getting the home office restored, but it's going to take a little while. And again, trying to do more remotes, and we'll see what happens in the next few weeks. And
I have a new vehicle, so you'll hear less bitching from me.
What did you end up getting there, Mike Lubie?
Subaru Crosstrek. I didn't know Subaru still existed. Not gonna lie, I haven't really seen a Subaru in like a decade. But my sister-in-law has a Subaru sedan, and it's interesting. The prices have come down in the car market, but it's still a place where the bigger dealerships won't negotiate, and they were willing. We went to Subaru. The guy, it was super old school. The guy wouldn't listen. We tried to leave 5 times because I was like, "Look, this is I'm not a negotiating guy. I give you my number. You meet it, cool. You don't, cool."
yeah,
And we gave him the number, and he kept going back. And I was like, "Dude, I appreciate your effort. Like you're getting your cardio on, but this is where we are." And he finally hit our number, and we're like, "All right." It's actually a really nice car. If you look it up, Subaru Crosstrek. Okay, for an SUV, it gets good mileage. It gets like car mileage, and it's a nice car.
It's congratulations. It'll be nice to not have to see you filling the oil and measuring the oil every week of the old clunker. But Defo, is there anything worse apart from maybe root canal than having to shop for the new car and waiting in the room, and they go back and forth, and you end up spending 4 hours there of something like
It was only 2 hours, thank God. It was really from start to finish 2 hours, which by car buying standards is a win.
And you know they have these slot machines now or whatever the what do they call it, Kavara, where like they build these silos. They're building one near me where you go in with a coin, and if it comes up 3 cherries, the car drops down and you could drive away with it. Is that how that works?
It's a good way to buy one. Yeah, no question. I've been very lucky to have strong affiliations with car dealers over the years in terms of sponsorship. So usually my experience was very, very pleasant, as was the case for the regular customers in most of these places.
Do you do like me with Pat, where you send a picture of yourself with an empty gas can and looking very forlorn, and then say, "Oh yeah, we happen to have a good deal on a new."
And I was lucky. I've been lucky with cars. I had a Lexus for about 13 years. It ran like a top till it finally wore down at about 260,000 miles, and then I was sponsoring Deal Volkswagen, and couldn't be happier than I am with my Volkswagen Tiguan, and do far less driving. Since the pandemic, we weren't driving to the office anymore, which was about 300 miles a week worth of driving right there. So yeah, I mean, I'm sitting in a good spot with this car. I got about 40,000 miles on it, even though it's maybe 3-4 years old. So
I won't lie, Deal. I actually talked to them, and they were going to give me a great deal.
Yeah.
The problem is I think their SUV is even too big, and my wife is not a huge fan of driving big cars. So I actually would have gone down there. They do a really good job. If you're in the Miami area or willing to travel,
great place.
They have a really good job. I tried. They worked with me. They were going to make it very easy.
You went down at the end and bought a car from a line that's going out of business. That'll be like as prevalent as the Edsel.
Subaru does a
So-
good job, and they actually are very
Yeah.
safe, and that was a big thing for Shirley. They have all these weird safe.
Hard to
things.
get parts
No.
when they don't make the car
For
anymore.
people
Libby.
that are going to have
Yeah.
young growing families, Subaru is known as like between the Volvos and Subarus are like for the
very safe for, like,
safety
families.
conscious. Yeah.
So it got
So,
my wife.
Little
we got
Lubie's
her
on the
car.
way. Is the bun in the oven yet, or what?
some
Don't
point,
push it. Yeah.
You're
Well,
buying a Subaru. That means
Yes, this is the next phase. We got the house. We got the family car.
right. You're cleaning your own pool. You're saving up for the
Own pool.
diapers. Very good. And speaking of new cars and cars, what's going on with the whole eating project, Defo? Like where you're going to go around and show people how you eat the weirdest
Dining while driving. I
Yeah.
still think it's got massive potential. I think we got to make an episode and then see how it looks.
Only if I can critique you while you're eating and driving.
I
Listen,
mean, okay, yeah, no, you need to be in the back making a lot of noise. Otherwise the show wouldn't be any fun.
and do you? What's the craziest thing you've ever eaten while driving?
I mean, I without utensils. So we had that bucket of fried rice that they serve at that place in Hialeah.
How do you do that?
giant bucket.
You just-
They forgot to put the utensils in, and we were obviously hungry, or we wouldn't have stopped there. Yeah.
Did you eat Mayo style? God.
Very much so. Yeah, I mean, had I been alone, I would have just stuck my face in the thing. But I was with the Mustang. And needless to say, the next day, without realizing it, when I got in my car, it was covered with fried rice. But potatoes, to eat like a full like roasted chicken, you start picking at that in the car. It's always weird when you open up cold cuts that you got from the deli counter and you're eating a couple of slices in the car because there's no place to put them down while you're trying to, reclose the bag. I mean,
My favorite is
it has endless possibilities.
I gotta confess here. I don't know if Tom T's still watching, but one of the least impulse moments I had is driving back from Tom T's Louisiana kitchen. And I think he gave me some of his great lasagna, the crepe lasagna, and also
You ate that in the car? Oh, wow.
I kind of dug a couple of fingers in and took a
Wow.
couple of scoops of it because it was
You probably
so
should be doing the driving on this show.
I got a little-
I'll be in fact just making crass comments. That'll be great.
the boudin balls with the comeback sauce. That's easy when you're driving. You just dunk them. But with the lasagna and you don't have the
Mexican is rough. Chinese, some of those things are not easy to put together.
Let's talk Chinese. I mean, and we're almost out of time. But okay, you got the bucket of rice. Is it worse to just have no utensils and dig in with hands and just shoveling it up, or all you have is maybe a pair of chopsticks?
No, you can't do chopsticks.
Can
with
anybody
rice.
eat rice with
Yeah.
chopsticks?
It can be done. Yeah.
Dry.
Yeah, you want to use more of a shovel technique on that one, but I don't think you want to use chopsticks. While
I've
you're
done that
driving.
at the poker table
Yeah.
with the fried rice and the shovel technique, and the
Yeah.
poker dealer just looked at me. We were talking about this yesterday, how I get my local Chinese delivery right to the poker tables at the Dania Highlight Casino. And the dealer looked at me and goes, I've lived here for 15 years. I've never once see a white person use chopsticks.
Eh,
It's like, well, I'm the one. I'm a food guy. I love using chopsticks. It kind of is a mark of distinction among real, authentic New York Chinese food lovers. So that's it. Oh, and on that note, anything else on the table? That's it. I hear that music. My car is ready. I got to go get my car, and then I'm going up to Delray for a double header. Not only the Best of Delray happy hour at the Ember Grill at the fabulous Swank Ray Hotel. Then I'm going for a little dinner at this hot new spot called Le Colonial, which is kind of a French Vietnamese place that has gotten all kinds of great buzz. And going with Dick Steen, his wife, and one of our marketing folks from Best of Delray Beach, 8:00 reservation, Le Colonial. They have a dress code, so I got to break out my nice finery. And I'll give you a review of Le Colonial on tomorrow's show. Until then, it's Mike Mayo for Jeff Defo DeForest, Mike Lubie, New Car Lubitz, and myself saying have a great day and enjoy every